We are entering into the special town council meeting, June 10th, 2025. We are still at the Robert DeLeo Center, Senior Center, and we will have a roll call, please.
Councilor Aiello.
Here.
Councilor DeMarco.
Here.
Councilor Costigan. Councilor Tassinieri.
Here.
Councilor Swope. Here. Councilor DeRoss.
Here.
Vice President Belcher.
Here.
President Lettieri.
Yeah. Please stand for the pledge. Councilor DeRoss, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's good. That's good. We're having a public comment period at the beginning. If anyone chooses to make a comment regarding the fiscal 26 budget. Okay. So we have one item on the agenda. It's the fiscal 26 budget. There are multiple motions that are made. Sometimes it might seem like there may be a quick vote or a relatively quick vote when you're talking about an $80 million budget. This has taken numerous time, double-digit meetings by Finance Commission, Subcommittee on Finance, and department heads. Can't thank Town Manager Marino. Sarah's been unbelievable in this help, with her help, coming to all the meetings, participating. Robbie also was incredible. So the whole team, our thanks go out to them. It is not easy, but over the years, this budget process is so much more transparent than it used to be. Not to any fault to anybody proceeding, but I think with the town manager coming on and a different approach and a much more streamlined approach and more details, it is by far not by far, but it is not a perfect document, as nothing is, and we're always looking for improvements, and next year we'll see a few more. But this has been incredible as far as transparency. It gets very intricate, and there is so many items, and to go over line by line in some of these budgets, and this is what the Finance Commission does. The Subcommittee on Finance, Vice President Belcher, Councilor Tassinari, and Chairperson DeRoss, along with Citizens Finance Group, and of course I'll forget all the names now, but Karen Chavez, Chair of the Citizens Finance Group, Matt Gorkowitz, Brent Shannon, Joe Hanlon, Bill Galt. It's just an incredible group, and John Macero joining in person, joining on Zoom. It's just been a great effort. That Citizens Finance Committee, I praise them a lot, but there were many committees in this town, and they all do their due diligence. The Citizens Finance Committee, to me, is unique in so many ways. They're cohesive, they agree to disagree, they have incredible in-depth conversations, they take this budget so incredibly serious, as they should, but they do such a fantastic job going over this budget, asking the right questions, looking for backup documentation. I'm sure they've emailed Tony and Sarah many, many times over the last few months, and they've been great getting back to them. But they don't just take it because it's there, they take it because they do their due diligence and make sure that everything is factual and complete. So I thank them tremendously for their work. So with that, I'm going to pass this to Councilor DeRoss, and he has a handful of motions to make.
Mr. President, before we get into old business, I have a point of order to raise. Point of order, we have an ineligible member who may vote tonight due to the abandonment clause. And if his vote is in a close vote, we may end up having an invalidation of our vote if it's challenged at the AG's level.
Okay, I consider that motion out of order, and we will move on to Councilor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. I do have a series of motions to go through. We did meet as a finance subcommittee prior to the meeting tonight and reviewed each and every one of these, and each of them is coming out of our subcommittee with a positive recommendation for the council. The first motion from Town Manager Marino is the adoption of annual general fund operating budget for fiscal 2026. And the motion reads, in accordance with the charter of the town of Winthrop, I move that the town council vote to adopt the town manager's proposed annual general fund budget for fiscal year 2026 as set forth in the town manager's budget submission, inclusive of personnel salaries and operating expenses set forth therein, and that to meet said appropriations, the town shall raise and appropriate, as well as appropriate from the following other available funds, the sum of $66,405,382, or take any other action relevant thereto. And those funds that he is alluding to include $39,522 from Cemetery Lots Fund 584, $5,000 from Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund 910, $75,000 from the Maintenance Stabilization Fund, Fund 965, $48,000 from Regional 911, Fund 903, and $576,486, excuse me, and again, all of this is a positive recommendation from subcommittee.
All right, this motion is coming out of finance, does not require a second. Is there discussion on the motion? And I will say, we just talked about an $80 million budget, and people might look and say, oh, this is $66 million. This is the operating budget. There is another 14 or so million dollars that comes out of enterprise funds and such. So this is the general operating budget. There's a motion that's been made, it's been seconded. Again, we thank Tony and his team, the Finance Committee, the Finance Commission, Citizens Finance for their work on this. I will ask if there are no further discussion, I will ask for a roll call vote, please.
Council Aiello.
Yes.
Council DeMarco.
Yes.
Council Costigan. Council Tassinari.
Yes.
Council Swope.
Yes.
Council DeRoss.
Yes.
Vice President Belcher.
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes, motion passed. Councilor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. Second motion from the town manager is regarding the adoption of annual revolving funds budgets for fiscal year 2026. The motion reads, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 32, and in accordance with the charter of the town of Winthrop, I move that the town council authorize the continuation of all revolving funds in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. During our subcommittee meeting, Sarah Johnson was kind enough to provide us with a high-level summary of these funds. It includes tax title of $30,000. By the way, these are all limits. $30,000 limit, Council on Aging, $20,000 limit, Pauline Street, $59,500 limit, and the E.B. Newton, $100,374. That's a total of $209,874. And Sarah was kind enough to agree to provide a little bit further detailed breakout for our next year fiscal budget. So thank you, Sarah. And Council President, this comes out with positive recommendation.
Okay, thank you again. This comes out of committee with positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Council Aiello.
Yes.
Council DeMarco.
Yes.
Council Costigan. Council Tassinari.
Yes.
Council Swope.
Yes.
Council DeRoss.
Yes.
Vice President Belcher.
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes. Motion passes. Councilor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. Next motion from Town Manager Marino, the adoption of the annual capital plan for fiscal year 2026. The motion reads, in accordance with the charter of the town of Winthrop, I move that the town council vote to adopt the town manager's proposed annual capital plan for fiscal year 2026 as set forth in the town manager's budget submission, and that to meet said appropriations, the town shall raise and appropriate from other available funds as detailed therein, and take any other action relevant thereto. I'll just make a couple of comments for those who may not have read the capital plan in detail. The total funds involved are $3,716,273. Breaks out into three subtotals. The town subtotal, $3,263,273. School subtotal, $124,000. And equipment subtotal, $329,000. Again, that totals up to $3,716,273 total. Comes out of subcommittee with positive recommendation.
Thank you very much, Counselor DeRoss. That comes out of committee also with positive recommendation. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counsel Aiello.
Yes.
Counsel DeMarco.
Yes.
Counsel Costigan. Counsel Castaneri.
Yes.
Counsel Swope. Yes. Counsel DeRoss.
Yes.
Vice President Belcher.
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes. Motion passes. Counselor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. Next motion from Town Manager Marino is regarding the adoption of the annual, we just did capital plan, excuse me. We have enterprise funds next. First one is the adoption of the Larson Rink enterprise fund budget for fiscal year 2026. The motion reads, I move that the town council vote to appropriate the following sums for the operation of the Rink enterprise fund budget for fiscal year 2026. Personnel and benefits costs, $200,222.52. Operation and maintenance, $121,478, for a total of $321,700.52. There are indirect costs of $33,425.48. And as funding, therefore, that the town vote to raise a total of $355,126 as follows. User fees and other $325,126, and a subsidy from the general fund of $30,000. Comes out of subcommittee with positive recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor DeRoss. This is coming out of committee with positive recommendation. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counsel Aiello.
Yes.
Counsel DeMarco.
Absolutely, yes.
Counsel Costigan. Counsel Castaneri.
Yes.
Counsel Swope. Counsel DeRoss.
Yes.
Vice President Belcher.
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes. Motion is passed. Counselor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. Next motion from Town Manager Marino is regarding the adoption of the Recreation Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. Motion reads, I move that the Town Council vote to appropriate the following sums for the operation of the Recreation Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. Personnel and benefits costs, $299,645.12. Operation and maintenance, $101,320, for a total of $400,965.12. There are indirect costs of $34,409.88, and as funding, therefore, the town vote to raise the $435,375 as follows. User fees, $405,375. Subsidy from the general fund, $30,000. Comes out of subcommittee with positive recommendation.
Thank you, Counselor DeRoss. This is coming out of committee with positive recommendation. Any further discussion on the motion? And just a question for Tony and/or Sarah on this. Obviously, we're going to have some disruption with Parks and Rec, and we're doing everything we can to make sure they have adequate locations for probably the next school year, with the understanding that they will be heading back to the gym for their permanent home. And we thank Sean for all he's done over the years and for his willingness to move on multiple occasions. And now with the middle school coming down, there's obviously a reason. And we're comfortable with this budget as stated.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counsel Aiello.
Yes.
Counsel DeMarco.
Yes.
Counsel Costigan. Counsel Castaneri.
Yes.
Counsel Swope. Yes. Counsel DeRoss.
Yes.
Vice President Belcher.
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes. Motion passes. Counselor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. Next motion from the town manager is regarding the adoption of Harbormaster Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. The motion reads, I move that the town council vote to appropriate the following sums for the operation of the Harbormaster Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. Personnel and benefits costs, $152,300.72. Operation and maintenance, $74,750, for a total of $227,050.72. There are also indirect costs of $70,228.28, and as funding, therefore, town vote to raise $297,279 as follows. User fees, $297,279. Comes out of subcommittee with positive recommendation.
Thank you, Counselor DeRoss. This is coming out of committee with positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, a roll call, please.
Counsel Aiello.
Yes.
Counsel DeMarco?
Yes.
Counsel Costigan? Counsel Castaneri?
Yes.
Counsel Swope? Yes. Counsel DeRoss?
Yes.
Vice President Belcher?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes, motion passed. Counselor DeRoss, please.
Thank you, Council President. The next motion from Town Manager Marino is regarding the adoption of Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. I move that the Town Council vote to appropriate the following sums for the operation of the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. Personnel and benefits costs, $1,826,685.57. Operation and maintenance, $9,272,941.46, for a total of $11,099,627.03. There are also indirect costs of $382,459.97. As funding, therefore, town vote to raise $11,482,087 as follows. User fees, $11,482,087, comes out of subcommittee with a positive recommendation.
Thank you, Counselor DeRoss. Coming out of committee with positive recommendation does not require a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Aiello?
Yes.
Counsel DeMarco?
Yes.
Counsel Costigan? Counsel Castaneri?
Yes.
Counsel Swope? Yes. Counsel DeRoss?
Yes.
Vice President Belcher?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes, motion passed. Counselor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. Next motion from Town Manager Marino is regarding the adoption of the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. I move that the Town Council vote to appropriate the following sums for the operation of the Solid Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2026. Personnel and benefits costs, $135,747.36. Operation and maintenance, $1,655,110, for a total of $1,790,857.36. Indirect costs, $55,962.64, and as funding, therefore, the town vote to raise $1,846,820 as follows. User fees other, $1,361,820. Subsidy from the general fund, $400,000, which we made comment in subcommittee that is down from $600,000 the previous year. Retained earnings, $85,000. This comes out of subcommittee with a positive recommendation.
This is coming out of committee with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any further discussion on this? I will make a statement on this fund. This is still a relatively new fund. This is our third year, maybe, with this. 4 years ago, we had an appropriation for trash of $1,280,000. During that year, we entered into a new trash contract, which raised rates approximately 47%, which put the total upwards of $1.9 million. At that point, we instituted a trash fee to try to make up the difference. Over that time, we've had a subsidy increase from Winthrop Housing Authority from, I think they were paying around $5,000 upwards to $20,000. We've had other group homes and such in town that are paying now for their trash barrels to be picked up, as well as every resident under a three-family home, three-family and under. The appropriation did decrease. Now, again, this is an enterprise fund, so a purpose of an enterprise fund is to be self-sustaining. The goal of an enterprise fund is to have retained earnings in that 10% range, just like the town would like to have retained earnings, or in our case, stabilization money in that 10% range. And I know the DOR takes a close look at enterprise funds, and hence how they certify our tax rate for the following fiscal year. This is showing an increase in trash fee from 160. Now, I've seen 3 different numbers, up to 185, 190, 200. My concern is, and I understand the logic behind it, my concern here is that it's a fee that's, I'm hoping that we're landing on that 185 figure. I'm hoping that we land on a 175 figure. However, now the budget is balanced right now, and it would require a whole lot of moving around. The other thing that, not to throw our town manager under the bus, but as in with the water rates, this fee is directed by the town manager, and I know he has put in much effort, and I think that's why there might have been different numbers tossed around, because he and his team, with Sarah, has put in a tremendous amount of effort to try to keep that increase as low as possible. And some people might look and say, geez, why is Jim mad? It's $25 or whatever it is. But I'm a numbers guy. I look at percentages, and it's about a 15 or 16% increase. I get concerned. I just want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make every person that is having their trash collected pay their fair share. And I'm sure that is also, and I'm going to give the town manager a chance to respond to me here.
Yes, every homeowner is paying for the trash for sure. We are going to have additional meetings with, the Winthrop Housing Authority and others to try to get that number up. That was always the plan. And I know Finance Committee members, Karen Chavez has emailed me about that, and that is the plan. We'll talk to Peg Lyons and see if we can, do something about increasing that. But the goal is, as you said, was to get that number down. It's at 400,000 this year. Steve and I have talked a lot, and we've looked at all the trash between the town and the schools, and we figure that number is going to be right around 300,000. Ultimately, that's sort of where we want to get to. We can justify that's our expenses for trash. We don't take raising fees lightly. I mean, we've had hours and hours of conversations trying to not do this. I think we're going to land, and I'll give a presentation to the council, similar to the water rates, but we'll be in between 185 and 190. We're shooting for 185, but I want to just double check everything before we can lock in there, but that's where we're going to end up, so.
And again, we ultimately, the town should be responsible for their trash, and the school should be responsible for their
Correct.
trash, and I would hope that you will be working with Capital Waste to try to zero down on those numbers to get a
We are.
realistic
Yep.
goal, okay?
We're working on the tonnage numbers.
All right. Anybody else have anything on solid waste? Councilor Aiello?
Yeah, just a note of support for the town manager and the staff and the way you have professionalized that whole area and given us greater transparency and a greater long-term deal. So appreciate the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Vice President Belcher?
Thank you. Just a note on this, I think we need to be really diligent about raising fees on a regular cadence. We can't control the increased cost of living, but we can help people plan. So I think nobody likes a fee increase, but I think if we come to a place where they're more regular and more predictable, and it would be nice to see an MOU with the Housing Authority that says theirs goes up the same percentage as the ratepayers or something like that. I know that they're constrained by their budgets, but something along those lines to help make sure they're paying their fair share as well.
And that's one of the things the Finance Commission asked for, sort of a fee schedule and looking out 3, 4, 5 years, and that's something we're working on as well.
No other discussion, roll call, please.
Council Aiello?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Council Costigan? Council Castaneri?
Yes.
Council Swope? Yes. Council DeRoss?
Yes.
Vice President Belcher?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes, motion passed. Councilor DeRoss?
Thank you, Council President. 2 motions to go. The next one from Town Manager Marino is regarding the reorganization of the Harbormaster Enterprise Fund. I move that the Town Council vote to place the Harbormaster Waterways Enterprise Fund under the authority of the Town of Winthrop Police Chief beginning in fiscal year 2026, or take any other action thereto. Also comes out of subcommittee with positive recommendation.
Thank you, Councilor DeRoss. This is coming out of committee with positive recommendation, does not require a second. This is part of Mass General Law, and if, Tony, you want to just expound on that?
Yeah, it's also part of the charter, right? Any sort of a reorganization requires the council approval, so we want to make sure it's there. I will say the police chief and his staff, and along with Cheryl, and I got to give kudos to Cheryl, she's been working diligently on this for months, and all the staff members at the Harbormaster office have just been incredible. We're made great strides already, but without this even being approved, we've fine-tuned the software, increasing the waterway fee revenue that we're collecting, organizing things down there, and just it's looking at different grant opportunities outside of the state. There's a lot of private organizations that want to give money, stuff through the feds, our URC funds. There's additional monies available there. So we're going to really take a look. We had a great meeting today about, we've got a boat that's sunk near the channel. We got to work on getting that out of the water. We're working with the Coast Guard to try to get them to participate in it. But we're also looking at, cleaning up the moorings. I mean, as everybody knows, and we're going to try to meet with the marinas and whatnot, but marinas require everybody to have a storm mooring along with a regular slip. And, those just sit out there and never get used. So maybe there's a better way to do that. So we're looking at everything to try to, professionalize this and, really improve the inner harbor. So we're excited about the plan.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Aiello?
I just want to also add my thanks. Of all the improvements that have been happening, and particularly as the operations of that place is getting more complicated with the ferry, the use of the ferry building, and the blend of uses that happens day in, day out, particularly during the spring, summer, and fall. So this is a great move, continue the progress in the direction. So thank you for all of that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Council Aiello?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Costigan? Council Castaneri?
Yes.
Council Swope? Yes. Council DeRoss?
Yes.
Vice President Belcher?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes. Motion passes. Councilor DeRoss.
Thank you, Council President. The final motion is from Town Manager Marino to appropriate funds to the Education Stabilization Fund. I move that the Town Council vote to raise and appropriate $1,450,000 to the Education Stabilization Fund for fiscal year 2026. Subcommittee with positive recommendation.
Coming out of the committee with positive recommendation does not require a second. Discussion on this. And I will say this is part of the override that just passed. This is a requirement from the council to, again, fulfill its obligation that this money is being directed to the Education Stabilization account. Seeing no further discussion, roll call, please.
Council Aiello?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Council Costigan? Council Castaneri?
Yes.
Council Swope? Yes. Council DeRoss?
Yes.
Vice President Belcher?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Councilor DeRoss, for your eloquent reading of those motions. You did a great job. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilor Vice President Belcher, second by Councilor DeMarco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.